Part 46. Western region's goods arrived to the capital, then that news spread to the whole city. The goods brought back from the western regions went all the way to the capital. And Ming Yu had already begun to look forward to the influence of this batch of goods. Although things are rare and expensive, people need to be able to recognize the goods. He knows the preciousness of goods, but people in the capital do not know. If no one appreciates the goods and the goods cannot be sold, it will be troublesome. Ming Yu was both worried and looking forward to it. He felt like he had 70 or 80 buckets of water hanging in his heart. Qingping looked anxious in her eyes and tried to persuade him to no avail. Later, Xie Yishou stood up and dragged Ming Yu to learn how to ride a horse, which made him gradually forget about it. Well, for so long, although Ming Yu has always wanted to learn to ride a horse. He has been recovering from his injuries after riding for the first time, and then he was busy dealing with Song Qingfu's mess. Later, the weather became more and more cold, and he was reluctant to go out. In addition, General Xie was delayed because of guarding against the barbarians in Xichong Gate at the border. Therefore, Ming Yu has not made any progress in learning to ride horses for several months. Now that spring is blooming, isn't it a good time to ride out on horseback? As a result, Ming Yu's anxiety has also calmed down, and he no longer thinks about the goods sent to the capital, which is much easier. After learning for a few days, I finally rode a little more decently. And I was able to trot on horseback. In the capital, Xu Shi, the crown prince's companion, took over dozens of trucks of goods sent to the capital, and a letter from Ming Yu accompanied him. In the palace, after the crown prince Ming Yi read Ming Yu's letter, he handed it to Xu Shi. This is the marketing and sales plan written by the 14th brother. You should take a look first. If it is feasible, you can follow this. Let's do it. As the crown prince, he studied government affairs every day, and it was too late to handle official affairs. It was impossible for him to do things for Ming Yu by himself, and he could only leave it to his confidants. Xu Shi has been reading with him since childhood. The two look like masters and servants. But they look like brothers. Ming Yi trusts Xu Shi the most because of their friendship from childhood to adulthood. Xu Shi was smart since he was a child, and he was very scheming. He had also helped the crown prince to solve several crises. Therefore, Ming Yi did not hide anything from him. The last time Ming Yu wrote a letter to ask the crown prince to help promote the caravan of the western regions, it was Xu Shi who advised Ming Yi. Which made Ming Yi decide to stand on Ming Yu's side and persuade the emperor. Xu Shi was not cautious in front of Ming Yi. The crown prince handed the letter to him. He didn't say much and took the letter directly. In fact, he was also curious about the 14th prince. Oh no, he should be called Prince Duan. What exactly is the marketing plan? The 14th prince used to be in the palace, not showing off the mountains or dew, like a transparent person. But since falling into the water a few years ago, the whole person seems to have changed. According to the imperial physician, it was because of his shock that his mind had changed. And the fact that he had been taking medication for the past few years, the 14th prince's stupidity had slowly improved. This is sudden. This kind of psychological change is also normal. Xu Shi often followed the crown prince, and because of the relationship between the crown prince and the 14th prince, he had met many times. For this foolish prince who could not threaten the status of the crown prince, he still had a bit of tolerance for the 14th prince. After all, he was also the younger brother of His Royal Highness, and there was always a bit of love for Wu Jiwu. For his change, he is also happy to see it happen, at least for now. The 14th prince has become the Prince of Duan, and he can also become the help of the Crown Prince Ming Yi. Xu Shi quickly read the letter in his hand, and then propped his chin up and thought. Seeing him like this, Mingyi didn't bother, just sat on the side and sipped his tea slowly. After a while, the corners of Shu Zai's mouth curled up after reading the letter. And there was a glint in his fox-like eyes. Interesting. This Prince Duan is really interesting. He can capture the minds of the public so cleverly. Who would dare to believe that this is a method that a fool came up with? Now he can't help but doubt in his heart, is the 14th prince really stupid? Or is his stupidity already cured? He was wondering if he should send someone to check it out for himself. He heard Mingyi's voice. How is it? What do you think the 14th brother said? Shu Shi returned to his senses, saw Mingyi's concerned eyes, shook his head and said, "What Prince Duan said was very good. I thought that you can give it a try. What are you thinking about now? Although Prince Duan is the younger brother of the Crown Prince. But now that he has gone to Liangzhou, there is no threat to the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince also has brotherhood with the 14th Prince. Why bother to be this wicked person? No matter whether Prince Duan is still stupid or not, it has no effect on the Crown Prince. Maybe it is a good thing that he has recovered. The Western region's trade is a cooperation between Prince Duan and the Crown Prince. Half of this batch of goods belongs to the Crown Prince. Of course, the more benefits sold, the better. You should put your mind on this first. As long as you have a good reputation for the first time, are you afraid that the items from the Western regions will not be popular in the future?" Mingyi seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Since Shu Shi could do it, it would be no problem. The 14th brother's approach seemed a bit deviant in his opinion. From Mingyu thinking of setting up a caravan to trade in the Western regions, to the time when the caravan returned, trying to find a way to sell the vulgar things of the Western regions. All of which seemed to him to be nonsense. However, no matter how foolish you are, as your elder brother who is the Crown Prince, you can be more tolerant if you can. It is not easy for the 14th brother to go to Liangzhou. Otherwise, he will not bother to trade in the Western regions. Oh. What else can be done? Help if you can. Mingyi was in a happy mood. He was obviously relieved, nodded and said, "Then this matter is fully entrusted to you. If there is any problem, you don't need to go to the orphan. You can do it yourself. Get rid of this hot hand potato is good." He can't wait to push the task Mingyu gave him to Shu Shi now. At this time, how did he know how much benefit Mingyu had brought him in the end? Even the third prince who had not been dealing with him all the time also begged him. Not to mention other princes and princesses. More, even the concubines in the harem couldn't sit still, and asked the emperor to ask him for something he liked, but one of them was big. Shu Shi shook his head, his heart was amused. The crown prince was still the same as before, all the things he didn't want to do were pushed to himself, alas. Should he be thankful that the crown prince trusted him? Or should he bemoan his hard work? That's it, this prince has to go to the father and send the things that the 14th brother presents gave to the father. Mingyi stood up and waved his hand. And let someone carry a large wooden box and go to Dayu Palace. The emperor was approving memorials in Dayu Palace at this time, and when he heard the announcement, he let people in without thinking. After Crown Prince's salute, the emperor saw the big mahogany box behind the crown prince, and he didn't know what it was. Father. This is something that the 14th younger brother sent to present to the father, and asked the father to check. Mingyi explained. The emperor suddenly realized, patted his head, and finally remembered that the caravan that old 14 had returned from the western regions had arrived in the capital. These are the things from the western regions that the old 14 sent? Mingyi nodded, and the emperor laughed and said, "This bastard. He doesn't know what he got in the western regions this time, and he's making a big splash for fear that others won't know. But since it's good to come back safely, it will prevent him from making trouble again." Yes, the 14th younger brother has always been filial, although the western regions belong to the barbarian state. But the things that the 14th younger brother can send over on purpose are rare things. The emperor was in a good mood, and Ming Yi was also much more relaxed. He just come. And Ming Yu's letter did not state that, nor could he casually look at what was given to his father. So, he didn't know what was in the box. The emperor nodded, clearly agreeing with Ming Yi's words, and said happily, "Well, let's see what good things old 14 brought me." After speaking, he motioned the palace eunuch to open the box. The palace man opened the box according to his words. And there were many different objects in it, many of which were strange things that had never been seen before. There are also a few good fur blankets. The craftsmanship is not as delicate as that of Dayan Country, but it has a rough and mad beauty. This difference makes the senses who have always been accustomed to exquisite aesthetics have a bright feeling. I heard from the 14th brother that these are things from the western regions, spices, gems and furs, all things that Dayan Country doesn't have. There is also a thing called a mirror, which can be said to be very delicate when looking at people and things. Ming Yi told like Ming Yu said in his letter. These things are very rare. Even people who eat and use the best and most precious things in Dayan Country are attracted by these things. The emperor was very interested and asked the same question. Fortunately, Ming Yi didn't dare to fool in front of the emperor. Finally, Ming Yi took out a beautifully packaged box and opened it. This should be what the 14th brother said about the mirror. "Father, let's take a look." The emperor took out the contents. Like a disc, when I saw my clear appearance reflected inside, I couldn't help but be surprised. This thing, not to mention the hair. Even the pores on the face are clearly illuminated. This is also something from the western regions? It looks like crystal glass, but it's not exactly the same. The emperor asked curiously. It was also the first time that Ming Yi saw this thing. He still didn't believe what Ming Yu said in the letter. Now that he saw it, he knew that what he said was true. This is really 100 times clearer than the bronze mirror. It is conceivable how much impact this logistics will have on the ladies in Beijing. He is not a person who knows nothing. As Ming Yu said, women's money is the best to earn. He can already imagine that group of people are crazy about them with enthusiasm, right? He was deeply touched by this. Thinking back then, the eldest sister, Princess Lin, spent a lot of money on a poem written by the talented Song Lian. He felt pain when he saw it. Now, can this mirror set off a trend? Suddenly remembering the marketing plan in Ming Yu's letter, maybe the nonsense he thinks will have unexpected effects. He also has a gift that Ming Yu specially prepared for the princess and concubine. There are several mirrors the size of a palm. Listening to Ming Yu's meaning is to open the high-end market first. No matter what is popular, it will open the door to the market. He doesn't understand Ming Yu's rhetoric, but he can understand what he wants to express. It should be. There has never been such a thing in Dayan Country before. The 14th brother specially sent it here, enough to imagine its rarity. The father also saw it. It must be better than the bronze mirror. Ming Yi smiled. The emperor also nodded. Well, although this old 14th is unreliable, it is still very good to have this heart. I heard that the dozens of trucks of goods that came back this time were exchanged for those things you sent in the past? I remember, back then, there were only a dozen carts of fabrics, porcelain, etc., right? Ming Yi bowed and said, exactly, those are also old and used goods that are not very valuable. I didn't expect to get so many things back. It is also because the 14th brother has a good vision. The emperor was very satisfied. Since the two of you have done this business together, the brothers are united. And they will cut the money. In this capital, the old 14th is far away from Liangzhou and can't be looked after, so you should take care of it for the old 14. 14 is also counting on such a little business to build a horse farm. Ming Yu had already reported to the emperor that he wanted to build a horse farm. He also didn't want the emperor to spend money for him, but only said that he would build it with the money he earned. The emperor didn't care about him either, thinking that he was just building a small horse farm for casual fun, and it wouldn't cost much money. Ming Yi had also heard of this matter, and said with a smile, "Father, please rest assured. I have my own share of this transaction, how could I be unwilling? No matter what, and the cloth and porcelain presented to me, then if you can get the cost. It's impossible for your son to make a loss." These words amused the emperor, who has always been restrained. The observant son also learned to joke. Sure enough, those who are close to Zhu are red. Those who are close to ink are black, and following the old 14th, who is indifferent, also makes the crown prince a lot more lively. That's fine. As for young people, you have to have the vigor of young people occasionally. How can you look like a young person if you are too old? The two chatted and laughed for a while, and the atmosphere was warm and harmonious. It has to be said that the trick Ming Yu taught him was quite effective for his father. It wasn't until Ming Yi saw the emperor's face showing a little tiredness that he got up and left. After returning, he sent the small gifts prepared by Ming Yu to the palace staff to deliver them to each palace one by one. These small gifts Ming Yu specially prepared and spent a lot of thought. The masters of each palace are of different grades, and everyone's preferences are also different. Therefore, the things he sends are also based on this, and he prepares all kinds of different things carefully. Xu Shi has already started preparations according to what Ming Yu said. I believe that it will not be long before the items of the Hu people in the capital will be spread by word of mouth in people's mouths. In the palace, concubine Zhen opened the exquisite gift box sent by Prince Ming Yu. She entered the palace in Lun's 17th year, and she climbed step by step from a small noble to the position of the current concubine Zhen. Because her eyebrows and eyes are somewhat like the deceased Empress Yuan, and her temperament is also straightforward and unpretentious, she is quite loved by the emperor. Now she can sit on an equal footing with the earliest concubine Wei in the palace. And her status in the palace is also rising. Hearing what the 14th prince sent, concubine Zhen dismissed it. What good things are in the wild land? Wouldn't it be a waste of her time to show it to her? However, the 14th prince was not familiar with her when he was in the palace, and the two did not have any intersection. This time I made a special trip to send a gift, but if she didn't accept it, she couldn't justify it. However, when she saw the slap-sized, crystal-clear mirror in the box, she could hardly take her eyes away. She happily held it in her hand and looked left and right, when she looked at the face of a woman with fair skin and beautiful eyebrows in the mirror. Surprised in her heart, she couldn't help herself. The person inside was really herself? How can you see so clearly? It's almost like reflecting people inside. Carefully read it over and over again. The eyebrows are not long enough, the rouge is not red enough, and the powder is not white enough. How can I go out and meet people like this? After she redressed, concubine Zhen looked at herself in the mirror and was satisfied. With such a treasure, of course she had to show off all over the place. And all the concubines in the palace were scrambling to show off what they got. Today I show off my mirror, tomorrow she shows off the spices sent from the western regions. Secretly competing for comparison, concubine Wei looked at the few pieces of skin she had here and wanted to shred them. This Ming Yu can't see her, so let's see what they have given. She doesn't have any of those mirrors, spices, and agate gems. What would she do with such a few pieces of fur? Could it be used as clothes to put on? Really pissed off, looking at concubine Jen, she got a small mirror the size of a palm, which she showed off in front of her all day long. Looking at the small mirror, thrusting her eyes and scratching her head. She could not wait to rush up and tear her fox face. However, there is no way, she just wants to show off, and she has nothing to show off. This will not work. In this palace, they have something they have but they don't have. What is this like? After thinking about it, I finally sent the palace staff to ask, where is there such a thing? In any case, she will get 1 or 2 back. The weather in the capital was calm, but dark tides were surging. Even if there is a little bit of trouble, it can immediately spread to the whole city.